Good morning, everybody, and welcome to episode 16 of Psycho's Platters. Hopefully everybody had a really good week last week. I have to tell you some honest truths here. This particular show is starting to pick up steam, and I like it. You know, I think the people out here in the vinyl community, there isn't enough people out in the vinyl community, to tell you the honest truth. There needs to be more people, more stories of the finds and stuff, because it's talking about what is our basic goal on these channels anyway? It's to spread the love and spread the music, right? Stuff that we like or are discovering or something like that. So listen, guys, get a channel started. If you haven't done one yet, I mean, you know, people like my friend Tim, you know, with his T-Mech 1959 channel, and Pootsy out in England, P-U-D-S-I, and Crate Junkies, that's with a Z at the end, by the way, that he's out of Pennsylvania. I mean, these guys are fantastic at what they do, and I know there's a ton more out there. I would really like some input from some of the other channels that exist that maybe I don't even know about yet, and I'll shout out you guys too. Okay, so let's get started here. This is some more vinyl finds that I've come across over the last couple of years. I still keep digging for things. Just to let people know, I mean, my collection used to be really, really big. This is my third collection that I have acquired since I started back in 1979. I think some of you people might be able to relate. I sold my first collection off when I had my firstborn, because, well, you know, I had to pay bills and diapers and formula. You know how that kind of goes. And then my second collection, unfortunately, I think I only was able to save about 10% of that, because there was a, I don't want to say disaster, but let's just say that about at least 80% of it got destroyed. I don't think it was malicious, but it just happened, and there wasn't much I could do about it, but I was able to save some of that, which of course became the seeds to my third collection, which is up and standing since maybe about, oh, I don't know, the late 90s, I want to say. So let's get started here. This one I picked up, and if it wasn't for my knowledge of Chicago bands, because that's where I'm originally from, is near Chicago, I maybe would have let this one slip. Let's see if any of you people know anything about this. That's right, these guys are Tufano and Gimmeries, The Other Side. You have to forgive, this is the album's glare, not plastic or anything, from 1977. And it happens to be on, how should I say this? It's Ode Records, but Epic is involved, so it's really Epic Ode. I'll show you here. The label's a little goofy. It's kind of, how do I want to say this, tannish, sort of, and it has Epic and Ode in small box form here, and it's a demo copy, not for sale. Tufano and Gimmeries, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, I guess I should have asked him myself when I met him years back, are two members of the Buckinghams. Carl Gimmeries is still with them, along with Nick Fortuna. If you ever get to see the Buckinghams go, you will not be disappointed in it. Dennis Tufano, he went and left the Buckinghams and went out to Vegas. And if you ever see a Bobby Darin tribute show, he's the one that does it. He's the singer of the Bobby Darin tribute show, as Dennis Tufano. But back in 1977, they recorded for Ode Records. Unfortunately sank without a stone. How about this band? This is like one of my mid-70s guilty pleasure bands out there. Stars. Yeah, that's right. Do any of you guys remember Stars in the 70s? They were produced by Rocksteady Productions, which happened to be the same production company that was Bill Auken and Kiss. Okay, he's the one that created Rocksteady, so he took Stars on as a client. They're originally from the New York, New Jersey area. They cut about 4 albums, this one, of course, being Violation. You got Sing It, Shout It, you got All Night Long. My favorite on here, Cherry Baby. I like Cherry Baby. If you've never heard Cherry Baby, go to YouTube and look at the original video for this that they did back then. It will get stuck in your head. It's good ear candy. And there's other ones on here too. But guess what, of course. How about this for a nice bunch of guys, huh? Yeah, that's right. Now, here's a little shout out to somebody else here who happens to be in this lineup. Richie Rano, I hope I'm getting that pronounced right. He still performs out in the New York, New Jersey area. Go like him on Facebook. Okay, I give that for a recommendation as well. I think Joe Doob, the drummer, he's the one with the cool mustache. I don't know if you could see it. I think he passed away a few years back. I want to say maybe Michael Smith too, I'm not sure. But at least Richie Rano still going off and rocking the Stars name strong. Of course, that's the name there. It was, let's see here, it was on Capitol, of course, your typical, but normally you'd see a red Capitol. This one was a particular special black Capitol with the Stars logo. That one, of course, being from the mid-70s. Good stuff there. Here's one I couldn't believe that I picked up for $25 at a library sale back up in Woodstock, Illinois. Velvet Underground's Loaded on Cotillion. Oh, yes. See, now you have most of course, the classic VU lineup, and the only one not with them, John Cale, on this. Lou Reed pretty much took over the mast by this time. This is pretty much the last album, really. I mean, they kept going after Lou Reed left, but the only one left, if I remember correctly, when it was all said and done, was Mo Tucker, the drummer. She was the only one left by like 1973, I think they finally left. Purple Cotillion on here. Really, really clean shape on this. And of course, look, back cover. There's all the instruments, but you don't see them. My favorite on here, of course, the classic Sweet Jane, which has been covered by many bands like Cowboy Junkies and a few other ones. Let's see, what else have I like on here? Rock and Roll, of course, is another one. But yeah, so really good stuff. I know it's on CD. Snag it, grab it. Classic Neil Young, right? After the Gold Rush. Oh, you know, I love early Neil. Okay, I like most Neil, but I especially like early Neil. Let's see, of course, this one here has After the Gold Rush. Southern Man. Yes, oh, the classic. Till the Morning Comes. Lots and lots of good classics on here. Neil Young and Crazy Horse. And then, I can barely read this, but Steve Stills and Nils Lofgren, of course, are on this too. What you won't... I just found out about this in Classic Rock magazine, okay? Here's Neil. Here's the elderly lady. This was a split-second picture. Okay, this was taken man on a street type photo. He didn't know the lady didn't know him. Out about here in the picture, slightly past this, Graham Nash was actually walking with Neil Young too, but they cut him out of the shot. So right about here, Graham Nash is also walking the street too. Of course, this is a typical gatefold. That's right, guys. There he is, sitting looking pensive. What am I going to do now? Boy, oh boy, his future was something, isn't it? And it still is. He still matters. This man, they call him the godfather of punk. He kind of is, if you think about it. He's one of the factors anyway. And you know what? More power to him. His new CD, Psychedelic Pill, with Crazy Horse. I've heard a couple cuts off of it. It's actually not bad. I would say snag that too. Okay, musical Jeopardy question. What do you get when you get David Donato, who would briefly be in Black Sabbath for only a couple months, and Mark St. John, who ended up leaving Kiss for after the Animalize album? What do you get? White Tiger. That's right. These guys only made one album, and this is it right here. It's on EMC Records, a small little outlet here. I'll show you. Here's the back. Ooh, looking all... Yes, we are dangerous. We are a hair metal band. But pretty much... Let's see. Oh, wait a minute. What else do I got here? Hey, I didn't even know I had a lyric sheet too. Added bonus. on this one too. Unfortunately, this album kind of sank like a stone and went nowhere, but you know what? I heard rumors of that there may be a CD reissue of this, or they're trying to get a CD reissue on this. Snag it. It's really interesting stuff from the mid '80s on this one. So you really can't screw that up too much. Another classic. You know what? Originally they didn't try to call it a supergroup, but unfortunately they ended up with that type of a label anyway. From 1974, the Southern Hillman Fury Band. Okay, now I know you're trying to think, alright, Southern Hillman Fury, they sound familiar. J.D. Souther, okay, he wrote many songs, but the ones you probably would pretty much know, Eagles hits, okay, early 70s stuff. Chris Hillman, of course, from the Byrds, and Richie Fury from where? Buffalo Springfield. That's right, he was from Buffalo Springfield. Of course, this being on Asylum Records. Oh, look at them. They just look like they're just so entertained. This one, of course, being in a gatefold. How about that? Not bad stuff. Of course, Fallen in Love. Typical goodies there. Heavenly Fire. Safe at Home. The Flight of the Dove, and Deep, Dark, and Dreamless, which is sometimes what my music nightmares are. Just kidding. But let's see here. This, of course, being your old school Asylum label. Nice condition on that one, too. Okay, I'm a Beatle collector. Alright, I also like solo Beatles stuff. So, when I found this for, I think it was like not even $10 I snagged this for a few years back. The music's okay on it, but I still kind of like it. It's Ringo Starr's Old Wave. Get it? Instead of new. Yeah, I know it was stupid at the time, wasn't it? 1983, never released in America. This was like, to my knowledge, the only Ringo album that never got released in America. Part of the reason why, of course, was because Boardwalk label, the Boardwalk label, which was his label prior, Neil Bogart owned it. Remember Neil Bogart? Yeah, he ran Casablanca, he ran Buddha, Kama Sutra, that kind of stuff. Anyways, he died of a heart attack in mid-'82. Well, that kind of threw some things for a loop there, including Ringo. I mean, Ringo wasn't the only one affected. You had Joan Jett, you had Night Ranger. Harry Chapin died the year before, so he didn't have to worry about it. But a bunch of the Boardwalk label artists, most of them landed on MCA, but he was one that didn't. I still don't know why, but the point of the matter is this particular one here is a German pressing. It was only released in Canada and Germany on your Black RCA label, okay? And on here you pretty much have your regular list of subjects. But I mean, like, for example, okay, this first of all was produced by his future brother-in-law Joe Walsh. Okay, he had nothing to do after the Eagles breakup. Just kidding. But he was always friends with Ringo, so he's on here. Chris Staten from Joe Cocker, he's on here too. Gary Brooker from Procol Harum. Joe Vitale, of course, who was a percussionist for Joe Walsh and the Eagles, he's on there too. John Entwistle from The Who. Okay, Waddy Wachtel, typical session guitar player. Eric Clapton on here too. Let's see who else. Yeah, I mean, lots of fun on all of this. So, but like I said, if you can find it, snag it. I do know that at one point or another, I think it was One Way Records in the late 90s, put out a double CD of Stop and Smell the Roses and Old Wave. Snag it. You will not be disappointed. It's more of a fun album than it is anything else. It's old 50s standards. Probably my favorite Mountain album. Yeah, you know who I'm talking about. Leslie West and Company. Oh man. I had the pleasure of seeing Mountain. It was in 2005. I want to say 2005 or 2006. It wasn't any later than that. They opened up for Deep Purple in Rockford, Illinois. And, oh man, I really wish I was closer that night. I mean, I was in first row general admission, so, I mean, the seats could have been better, but I still got to see them. They played all the classics. Leslie was rocking. You had Richie Scarlett, who, I don't know if that name sounds familiar to you. He ended up playing bass in Frehley's Comet. You know Ace Frehley's band? He was the bass player at the time during that gig. And, of course, Corky Lang bashing out the skins. He kept throwing drumsticks out into the audience like after every song. Man, oh man, I have yet to get a pair of drumsticks. But of course you got Don't Look Around, Nantucket Sleigh Ride, Tired Angels, Traveling in the Dark, all good stuff. Classic lineup on here, of course, Leslie West, Corky Lang, like I said, Felix Pappalardi, who he also produced Mountain and Cream and a bunch of other ones, unfortunately shot dead in '83, and Steve Knight that played keyboards on the Windfall label, which was sort of co-opt from Bell Records, kind of funky looking label. The album here is about VG shape pretty much, so not too shabby on that. Grab any mountain you can. Sugarloaf, yes, two-hit wonders. Green Eyed Lady was the easiest one of them all, with Jerry Corbetta. Remember the second one? Yeah, that's right. It was Don't Call Us, We'll Call You. Never said I could sing. But two-hit wonder, and a really good stuff, too. And, of course, the back cover sort of has a slight CCR vibe to it. Remember, they pulled this little photography stunt with Creedence. This here, also a gatefold, shows you a lot better of the band Sugar of Loaf. On Liberty, of course. Let me see if I can pull out here really quick here. Yep. Nice copy, I think. Really beautiful. Old school Def Leppard, High and Dry. You know what? This was the album that got me hooked to Def Leppard. This is their second album. On Through the Night's the first, and it's okay, but this is the one that sold it for me. And of course you got Let It Go. You better get ready for the big C. Okay, remember that lyric? Never mind. So you got Let It Go, you got High and Dry, Bringing on the Heartbreak, Switch 625, really good instrumental on that. Oh, I forgot to tell you, they made two pressings of this, okay? The first one, I want to find a copy of the first one. I haven't found one yet. This one's the second one because they remixed Me and My Wine and Bringing on the Heartbreak. Now, the first pressing of Bringing on the Heartbreak didn't have as much keyboards because there used to be this big thing from like, oh, I want to say 82, 83 to about 86 where you're in America, if you were in an England band, you had to shove keyboards on stuff. Def Leppard was one example. Whitesnake was another one. Now, why am I bringing this up really quick, the tangent, is because on the Whitesnake's, the Ultimate Whitesnake, the greatest hits one that came out about a year or two back, I think they boo-booed on the track listing, because if you go and listen to that version of Slow and Easy from the album Slide It In, it is not the American version of it, because the American version, there's more of John Lord's keyboards into it. In the English version, it's more raw, and you actually hear more of Cozy's drums, because Cozy Powell played drums on that, and it actually gives it a more kick in the ass than English version as opposed to the American one. So try and snag out that Whitesnake CD as well. But Def Leppard, I still love them. You know, I do. I haven't liked most of their stuff as of recent, but classic stuff's good. The Chamber Brothers, The Time Has Come. I gotta tell you, if you haven't heard this album, I would suggest getting it. I'm told some of the Chamber Brothers CDs albums are on CD. I would snag them. I would get them really, really good. I love the really, really long version of this song. Of course, typical Columbia stereo, but I heard a recent story from, let's see here, Lester Chambers. He didn't show his face, but he went off and he mentioned about how Columbia pretty much screwed him out of a lot of royalties. And, well, you know, that might be true. In fact, that's pretty true. There's a lot of record companies that were like that the royalty rates were extremely puny for the artist. I mean, after all, if you got landed on a major record company, the record company cared about the record company. The record company did not care about the artist. But the story, though, at least that I'm hearing from this lovely band, is that they released something like, I thought he said something like 15, 16 albums total, and they only ever got paid for 7 of them. And if that's the case, I mean, that's pathetic. You know, not on the band's part. The band's doing their job. They're making the music. They're sticking it on the plastic. You know, the record companies are supposed to be technically taking care of them, because guess what? The record companies are supposed to be the employers, right? The bands are the employees. You know, and it was all, of course, about money and greed from the record companies, okay? I can understand, you know, for the bands back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, even the 80s, because the companies really didn't learn their lesson. I think only in the 90s did we start getting some voice outs and stuff about how corrupt the companies were and all that. But, you know, some of these guys, they don't make anything. They should have some type of, I don't know, I guess a music fund. You know, I know with the old school wrestlers, there's a fund for helping them, right? You know, they get injured or stuff and they've been out of the business for 10, 20 years. You know, you paid into the system. You made an album or 2 or 10 or more. But you don't get that much money, you know. That's why all these bands kept touring and touring back then, and they still tour, because that's where their income comes from, guys. It's really not the records. So I'm sorry to hear about that bit. I say, you know, just continue, I guess, to love the music, spread the wealth, you know, share the wealth. You know, these record companies, they're too greedy. I'm sorry. Everybody should get equal distribution of wealth. If you played on something and the dang thing sold, then you should get your fair share if you didn't get it. Now, there's a lot of albums, of course, that sank without a stone and didn't do anything, you know. But the thing is, of course, then the record company rhetoric back then was, oh yeah, well, you know what, you used X studio, you know, for X amount of hours, and that costs money, and you actually still owe us. It was a big scam. It was. We won't even go into payola and chart fixing, because we'll save that for another episode. Alright, guys, some quick shout outs really quick, because I realize I'm almost at 25 minutes here. Ouch. Okay. Guess what I won last month and finally got last week from one of my favorite hard rock websites. You should join them too. Hard Rock Nights, ladies and gentlemen, out of Dallas, Texas. I won a contest, and I got this nice, thick, deluxe Megadeth 20th anniversary of Countdown to Extinction. Oh, is this thing good? It is real good. I'm going to open this up really quick. Like I said, a little box here. You got, let's see. What have we got in here? Well, geez, this thing's like hard to get out. Okay. You get the regular CD of 15 tunes. Bonus. Live at the Cow Palace from San Fran '92. Some real good stuff with this particular lineup. It was one of the better shows. I'm surprised they never released this back in the day. Postcards. Oh, you know who this is. Oh, he looks so angry, doesn't he? typical booklet, of course, with a lot of good liner notes. And I'm sorry, guys, but I'm not going to unfold this because this would take forever, but a really big poster all thrown in. Really nice deluxe box set. Courtesy, of course, like I said, of Hard Rock Nights, previously on Capitol Records. Get it? You will not be disappointed. Also, I got done reading this book. If you love the Rolling Stones like I love the Rolling Stones, I'm covering where I got it from, sorry. Only cost me $6. Life from Keith Richards. Oh man, does he go off in the 500 plus pages? Does he go off and mention all kinds of things? Really good rock tome. If you have not gotten it, you still might be able to get it from X Booktail, X Bookstore Reader. I can't tell you where. All right, fine, Barnes & Noble. $6 is how I got it. You might still be able to get it because they put it in soft cover. That's the reason why the hardcovers went cheap, okay? Don't pass it up. Also, some shout outs as usual, like I always do before the ends of my episodes. Shindig Magazine, I love you. I do. They normally don't have big bands on the covers. They really don't. But they decided, of course, to do this month anyway, the Rolling Stones, Satanic Majesty's Request. Starting to finally gather up, how should I say this, love for it. Okay, because they did try. It was the era of Sgt. Pepper and the Summer of Love. You know, and I think it's a decent album. I don't think it's great, but I think it's really decent. But they go off and they cover other things like, okay, the band Family. We'll talk about them in another episode. Pretty nice one there. The Daily Flash, band I never heard of that was on Uni Records in the late 60s. Ian Hunter. Oh, I love Ian Hunter. Beautiful stuff. So Shindig issue 30 out on the newsstands now. Or go to Shindig on Facebook and go check it out as well. Also, let's see. Oh, my favorite Sunday night treat. Can't forget to tell you about the Wax Museum with Ronnie Dark. Oh, this stuff is good. Out of Syracuse, New York is where they're from. On Sunday night, 6 to 9 Central Standard and 7 to 10 Eastern Standard. Just, you know what? You can't miss it. Dunhill Records Perspective next week. Following week, if I remember correctly, interview with Ray Graffia from New Colony 6. Really good stuff. Crate Junkies with a Z on Facebook and YouTube. Subscribe to the pages. Enjoy his goodies. He's got a special project. He's not going to tell you too much about it, but go and watch his newest video. He'll tell you what lists he really would like to acquire from everybody. Heck, maybe I'll even throw a list too when I get some time here. So, and then of course, T-Mec 1959, Tim Smith and his wonderful stuff. Also, I'm going to throw this one out really quick. If you like Chicago bands like I like Chicago bands, there is a web page on Facebook. It is a group page, and it's called Chicago Area Bands. I have found out so much information from this thing. Just type it up on Facebook and subscribe. You will not be sorry. I have found a lot of good things about little known and medium known bands that came out of the Chicago and Illinois area. You will not be disappointed. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I hope I entertained and educated some. Until next episode, take care, God bless, and of course, rock on.